Right, we have just come to the end of the first day of the live evidence of Peter Francis, the undercover police officer who was deployed into anti-racist groups between 1993 and 97. He's the only former SDS officer who has gone whistleblower. He did so in 2010. We have been, over the last hour or so since the last break, we have really gone into the granular detail of many aspects of his deployment. There has been a lot of questions about the list, which was made by family liaison officers in the Lawrence family home, which they have admitted to writing down who visited the home, what organization they were from, details about them. This list was then passed through. I mean, we were taken through the bureaucratic path of this list, getting to the SDS. The modification of the list with names being taken off it as they were being identified by other officers, and really how this then ended up with it being in Peter Francis's hands and him being told to identify the remaining names on the list, a feat he never finished. I'm joined by Zoe Young from the Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance. What did you make of this highly detailed and bureaucratic examination of the transfer of the information on these lists, or this list?
Oh, it's just so shocking that was the priority of the whole undercover policing, but the Met Police in general. You know, there's been a racist murder on the streets of Southeast London, and they're not going to look for the murderers. They are monitoring who's going in and out of the house of the grieving family. They are trying to find someone who can find all those names, and then they're going to focus on finding something out about the family. But they couldn't find anything about the family because they happen to be a clean living, professional middle-class family. And they wanted to have something, anything they could hold against them. And to then give this guy this job, which he just went on, he was told, he thought at the time, as he said, that this was the right thing to do, that he was just going to keep going until he could find whatever he could about all those people and any dirt. And
yeah, I mean, quite amusingly, I mean, he even said that the Palmer Black was one of the names on that list. He never identified her. He was able to identify her just the other day when Doreen Lawrence gave evidence, where it was told who she was. Was somebody involved with the Anti-Racist Alliance. I mean, he talks a lot about how that there was a real dearth of intelligence on the Lawrence family campaign, and that there was a real panic within the SDS that they didn't have coverage of what was going on.
Yeah. But why was that what they're panicking about? I mean, he spoke about how that there was this sense that there was almost like a dam, like the pressure was building behind a dam about this racist murder after racist murder, and just unease on the street in black and brown communities, in anti-racist communities, anti-fascist, just generally everyone was fed up with this. And that rather than saying, let's go and tackle the racism, let's go and tackle the murders, they wanted to find out who these people were and put that at the focus. And I'm sorry I keep repeating this just because it's so shocking. But he also said something like that they gave him a job and he kept on with the job, and he hasn't stopped with the job. Even now he's at the inquiry, he's still interested to know who all those people were.
I mean, as he said, it turned out that those people were well-wishers, extended family members, nobody of a great deal of interest, but that he was told that, find out if they might be political, because it would be possible to discredit the family if they were somehow politically engaged.
Yeah.
I mean, it was put to him as well, so what would be the concern, say, if they were from the SWP? And he said, well, if the concern was in the SWP, the concern would be that the officers who have infiltrated the SWP haven't reported that it was the SWP people there. But overall, anyway, it wouldn't be a concern because they had control within the SWP. They had good coverage. If it had been something like the Nation of Islam, then it would have been a concern because there was no SDS coverage inside the Nation of Islam. And this is really what it kind of comes down to, is that the SDS felt they had to be seen to have full coverage of any organization that could have any concern, could be of any concern over public order.
Yeah, and I think because he was white, they were initially wanting to put him into anarchist groups, but then they thought, hang on, there may be a way into some of these anti-racist groups. But they only seem to, at the time, have had one black spy cop, Trevor Morris. And Peter Francis was saying there was a lot of pressure on him
Mm.
at the time, and it was like, come on, you have to do this whole work.
Mm.
But at the same time, he said earlier that there was this sort of mistrust of Trevor Morris because of this fear that he might, what's the language they use? But
Go back
going
over.
over. Going
Going
like,
back over.
back over. What does
Yeah.
that mean? Back
Yeah, I mean,
over.
so I mean, like the idea essentially would be that he would stop working he would stop really working for the police and go back to identifying with the black community. I mean, it was essentially it. Another thing that was talked about quite a bit was the leaking of SDS intelligence to the press. And there was really an attempt by the inquiry to point out that one of the examples that Peter Francis had given about the tarring of Cynthia Jarrett or Joy Gardner? Basically, that Peter Francis had mixed up whether it was Cynthia Jarrett or Joy Gardner.
Both of whom were women who ended up dying within the custody of the authorities.
Of the police or immigration officers.
Yeah.
And that he kind of showed how the stories in the press had actually come directly from the immigration officers in the one particular case. And to which Peter Francis said, well, yeah, well, it was the other case then. That there's this confusion that he had at the time. We've shown his written statement from 2003, another one as transcript from 2013. Peter Francis has been talking about these things for quite a long time now, both privately and more publicly since 2010. But yeah, I mean, he was in no doubt that the special branch does leak information to the media, which is then used to discredit campaigns. And this is something which is seen as part of their countering subversion remit. Yeah. And it was a bit strange to me how much time at the inquiry has been spent looking at trying to discredit that, for one, which is something which is well known, and two, just to go through the layers of bureaucracy about the communication of the information on the visitors to the Lawrence family home, during by the family liaison officers.
Yeah. I mean, they could really have just been watching the home if they were that bothered about this sort of thing. But clearly, the priority was just to deflect attention from the police, to gather this data about anything that could be used as a smear. I mean, like one of these women, I think it was Joy Gardner. I think she was the one who was wrapped with how many meters? 10 meters of tape.
13.
Yeah. And so somebody somehow found an ex-boyfriend of hers who said that they'd got in fights. So then suddenly that was all over the press that she'd been violent. Therefore, somehow this justified the behavior of the police, but also the existence of the SDS, that they would be the ones going around trying to find I mean, I lost it slightly at that point because it's just so distressing. It's so hard to keep paying attention when it's so mad what they're talking about.
I mean, it is incredibly distressing. I think Peter Francis has come across very credible as a witness. It is very strange following his evidence at the inquiry. We are sharing a room with the RLRs. We don't have our own space to do these videos at the inquiry, so apologies if we might wrap up a bit quicker today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just follow this. This is so seminal. It's really exciting. Keep an eye.
We'll be back again following the second day of Peter Francis' evidence, starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. He's here all week. Please join if you can.
He's here all week.
Cheers.